classrooms, and then we also had the Carlos and Anthony spray the classrooms after each day with the electrostatic sprayer, made sure all desks were cleared and any belongings were off the desk so that they wouldn't get sprayed. And then just diligent hand washing and making sure that hand sanitizer was being used when it could not. Other than that, I felt that it was a really successful summer school, given the circumstances that we were having summer school in.
Do this.
Here's a quick snapshot of our attendance. I thought the attendance also was pretty good, almost 90%. We averaged 88% throughout the whole entire 12 days.
How many, tell us how many total kids we had?
81.
81, okay.
81.
And these are most referrals suggested by the teachers,
Correct.
Work with the parent. Okay, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah, they're all suggested either first priority or second priority from each grade level. So yeah, 88% we averaged throughout the 12 days. So each teacher, being that they were teaching just that one grade level, took an essential standard for ELA and for also math. Some did a little bit more in each area and just gave a pre-test and also post-test, and then looking at the growth there for each test. So Kinder for ELA did a pre-test for letter sound and then uppercase and lowercase writing. So that was all combined. And the pre-test 45% and final was 61. So 16% growth. You know, for 12 days, you got to keep this in mind as you're looking at the growth numbers. For 12 days and only doing an hour and a half about for ELA and an hour and a half for math, that a lot of these results I think are pretty substantial. The math, she worked on shapes and counting. These are kiddos going into kinder and 12% growth on that as well. So coming in, they had a pretty good knowledge of that at 59% as well, proficiency. First grade now, there's two slides for this one. ELA, she worked on the sight words, and so 36% of them knew their sight words. I think she had 11 students in this class. So the pre-test being that they got 50% and then 34% jump in sight words for 12 days, I thought was great. First grade reading comprehension, that one looks a little bit different because what she was doing was reading with them and giving a pre-test and a post-test on RAS kids. So the pre and the post, and then the growth each time from their pre and their post. So they read about 6 books that she pre and post their reading comprehension on in first grade. And still they're all averaging above 90%. So
is that what those small percentages are down here, you think, Sherry? Are those the pre-tests, you think?
those are the growths.
Oh, the growth.
Yeah, from the pre-test to the post.
Got it.
Yeah. So she was averaging about 2 days on each book. And then in math, addition and subtracting fluently within 10, 36% growth on that, 83% on their post-test. And then numbers through 120, 87% on their post-test. So 37% growth, and again, in 12 days is really nice. Going into second grade ELA, we tested on fiction and nonfiction. This was an article given to them, and 46% growth on the fiction article and 48% growth on the nonfiction article. Again, this is just reading on their own and then answering questions, comprehension questions to go along with that.
Okay, this may be a dumb question, but I got to ask. How do you pick grade level nonfiction? I mean, how do you pick the reading selection?
They used a website called readworks.org.
What's it called?
Readworks.
Okay.
And it's a free website. A lot of the teachers use it in school. I know third grade uses it as well. And it provides all the different genres in fiction and nonfiction, and all the articles are already vetted for fiction and nonfiction. Okay,
so you pick one of those and try it out, see if it works. Okay, all right. So there's a portfolio out there of grade level fiction, nonfiction stories to test comprehension on. You don't have to make it up.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already been vetted, and yeah.
All right, thank you.
In math in second grade, they worked on just addition skills, starting out at basic, 9 plus 4, single digit numbers, and then working all the way up to adding numbers into the thousands or 10,000s place. So based off of that, 30% knowledge, and then post-test of 80%. I mean, some of these addition problems on here go into fourth grade level, fifth grade level addition problems. So that's a really good growth score there. Subtraction, same thing. You might have starting out with a simple subtraction problem of single digits and then going into the thousands or 10,000s, and 46% growth on subtraction as well. Third grade ELA did very much the same format as second grade. We had the fiction and nonfiction again coming from readworks.org, and 32% growth on the fiction and 37% growth on nonfiction. So again, some great results. And same exact pretest was given that second grade got of the skills of addition and subtraction, starting out at a basic first grade, probably even kindergarten 1-digit addition or 1-digit subtraction, and then getting 19 and 36% growth on that as well.
Okay.
Fourth grade focused on summary writing with textual evidence for ELA, and that is more like a race response that many of the teachers teach, where they're responding and restating the question, they're answering it, and then citing a sentence from the text to support their answer, and then explaining how that supports their answer. So that's kind of the summary writing that she was working on. And so 47% pretest, so she had 17% growth in that. And that tends to be a little bit difficult for many of the students still to answer something to their reading and then cite evidence textually. She worked on multiplying 4 digits by a 1-digit number. So the 0% there is they didn't know any of that coming into summer school. And she thought that would have been, that's a key component that they need to know coming into 4th grade, 64% by the end of the 12 days. So
Sure, do you remember how many kids were in 4th grade in that class?
I want to say 11. Fifth grade, this was our lowest class. They had, I believe, 6 students in this class. They again worked on ELA for their race response. Not a lot of growth, and the reason why you'll see, I spoke with 5th grade about this. They used different articles for their pre and their post, and they also had different race responses. And then ultimately, they also did feel that that group just needs still some extra work with summarizing with textual evidence based upon the reading comprehension questions. So that was one of the reasons why they definitely felt they didn't see that much growth in their ELA. But their math looks amazing. They worked on money and area and perimeter, and 86% on the post-test, so almost 49% growth on that. 6th grade ELA, Mr. Liu worked on 3 different reading comprehension skills: character traits, context clues, and then theme. So you can see his growth is pretty decent for all of those. Character traits, 24%, 28% for context clues, finding that evidence to help support word meaning, and then the theme of a story or an article as well, 7%. And his math, he focused primarily on fractions, and 10% growth with that over the 12 days. And he had a full class as well. 7th and 8th grade, sorry, I guess I should have been saying who the teachers were for each grade level.
Sure.
Mrs. Wright did our 7th and 8th grade combo, and she focused just on reading comprehension, 23% growth, so 76% at the end there with the post-test. And then she also focused in on fractions and 34% growth for her kiddos, and she had a full class as well. So that is pretty much it, our summer school in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions?
Is it about the right number of days, and is it about the right number of hours? I mean, is it the right mix of time? And
I I think the time during the day, also I should add that, we do the hour for each kiddo gets an elective of either technology. So Mr. Holt taught technology, and then we also had Mrs. Fletcher come in and teach an art elective. So
Okay, once a week or every day?
every day they get that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's 3 days, Tuesday through Thursday, going from 8:30 to 12:30, and then getting that elective. It turns out to be about 55 minutes, but
Yeah.
still.
And Bob, to answer your question, because we toss this around a lot, like how much time is too much time? And it's a dance between burnout and telling a kid he has to be there every day for 8 hours. So I've done intersessions like that where you take Christmas break and you just get them 8 days and there's like 8-hour days and it just wipes them out. So there's that balance between burnout and then parent schedules. How many days will they go, oh, that's too much for us, and how much is okay enough for us? So I think it is a nice sweet spot. I would like to see it go more days, maybe more weeks in a sense, or even a second session of summer school. So that first group of teachers and students who are afraid of burn out, there's a different session that goes on the next, 3 weeks or something. So
Well, I think it's fantastic. It's rare to have a public school, charter or otherwise, that has summer school, and this is a good one. So thank you.
Well, especially during this time that we were going through, I think it was just a great normalcy to have the kids back on campus and have teachers there, and they're so excited to be around each other and be with each other and be a good teacher.
Actually, what you experienced is probably the last face-to-face in the state of California, literally, because nobody else did summer school, and here we are, kids on campus, teachers on campus, having a program that lasts several hours, and then it's over.
Right.
And nobody else did that.
I think it was the day before. We just ended the day before the governor's mandate the next day. So we literally ended the day before that happened.
Yes.
That's terrific. Thank you so very, very much. Great job. Appreciate it. Fun?
I happened to be there one day, and I have to say, those kids were happy to be there.
Mm.
There were smiles, and now has it been a week or 2 weeks since it was over? How long?
It ended July 16th,
Okay, so it's been
so about
2 weeks.
a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah, and no one was sick,
Nope.
no issues with teachers being ill. Is it possible that we could put something in the paper about the success of our kids going to summer school this
That's
year?
a great idea, especially since it was the last face-to-face in the state, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I'm just saying, we don't get very much press of any kind,
Mm.
local paper anymore. And to me, this is something that we ought to be shouting from the rooftops. Look what our kids did.
Right.
And look at their, the pleasure of being here from 8 in the morning until what, 2 in the afternoon or?
Yeah. Well, until about 12:30.
Okay.
For me, it was mostly just the climate that we were in, the social emotional aspect of it all.
Absolutely.
That we could be there for them, the teachers could be there, and just, it's right now we have, our biggest thing is to build these relationships coming back with distance learning, right? But just being there with them and being able to just see their face and, yes, hug them and, have conversations with them one-on-one is, I think that was the most meaningful part of the whole
And
semester.
that's that socio-economic or emotional growth that people who know kids are talking about these days. And I just think that would be something that the world needs to know about, at least our community needs to know about, that it was successful.
So would you like something in the paper that was more reported about that and data, or just?
I would like both of them. You could be general about the data. It doesn't have to be graphs, but
Right.
certainly, and maybe have a couple of kids interviewed or parents interviewed as well as teachers being interviewed, because there's an awful lot in the news today about demands teachers are making all over the country.
Yes.
And it doesn't have anything to do, commentary here, about what's good for kids. And this to me is what is good for kids. And I think that we need to shout it a little bit.
And I think sure, being new, like the news releases or what have you, we can work on that and
Okay.
just put together a really nice summary of what we did and what was able to be accomplished and draw some hope and some light on what's
Yes.
happening in the community.
Yes. about, that this was successful, and with the time parameters too, of when this was done.
Yeah.
And it didn't interfere with what Governor Newsom said,
Correct.
you know, at the end. It was well within the confines, everything was open, it was done correctly.
Right.
But I would think that you have some happy parents and some happy kids and some happy teachers.
Right.
And it would be nice to have some comments from each one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I got some emails. I was going to share a couple accolades. Sorry, probably not on camera. Share a couple accolades that we had. One was
Thank you.
One was a 7th, 8th grade class. One of the parents had reached out to me. I don't know if the other administrators got a CC on that, but about the math, that their student had experienced more math growth that they'd ever seen actually in classroom experience. And so they wanted to really just say how much they appreciated Mrs. Wright, Into Wright, for her work and just awesome instruction and delivery of the math. The other one was for Sherry. I walked through the office and she was always smiling. Even though at times it was like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I just ran a couple miles because there's this kid running away from school.
Oh, no.
You know, and so she had just an amazing attitude amidst all this COVID stuff and everything else that we were asking for our staff to do. And I just appreciated that so much. I wanted to say that publicly. She was just smiling and was willing to do whatever. Like, oh, I better get new shoes because I do know I'm going to have to be running around a little bit more. So I just thought that was awesome and just brought a light to the campus too. So thank you for that. All right. Yeah, absolutely. That sums up the director's report for what I have.
Okay, all right. That's all your. Okay, I'm going to move into the public participation session of tonight's meeting and ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak to the board on any item on the agenda or not on the agenda. More than welcome to come. If you would please let me know. There doesn't seem to be any interest in public participation this evening, so I will close the public participation portion of the session. We'll go to the discussion action session.
And just one moment, Mr. Stringer, I just want to make sure we don't move on too quickly. There's no, if you are a member of the public and like to say something to the board.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
That's okay. I just want to make sure online, if we have any participants, you can go to the chat function and ask us to speak, and then we will unmute your microphone from our end to allow you to do so. So I don't want to miss the online folks as well. We'll give that just a pause.
Thank you for reminding me of that, Mr. Gordon.
No, no worries. That's why I'm here. Let me just give him a moment to do so. Okay, I think that was enough time at this point. I'm sorry. I think we've had enough time to wait to see if anybody wanted to speak.
So nobody wanted to speak?
Not at this time.
Okay, then I'll close the public participation, and I apologize for not considering our distance participants here. So action A is board positions. Can Mr. Wolf and Mr. Are they tuned in? Can they can see and hear me? And
yeah, they can see and hear you. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that on my end that they are unmuted, and I'm trying to find them here. There we go. I'm going to unmute Mr. Casavan.
Thank you.
And let's make sure. I don't know if Mr. Wolf is still with us. Was he? Did I miss him? Oh. Let me just do this. Bear with me.
Hi, Mike.
I lost Mr. Wolf, I think. Unless somebody sees him that I don't see him. So, okay. At this time, I think Mr. Wolf has exited the meeting.
I'm sorry, what?
I believe at this time, Mr. Wolf has exited the meeting.
He exited the meeting.
I don't currently see him on our Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, this is our annual reorganization, and I've been doing this a long time, Chairman, and I'll be glad to continue. But if somebody wants this position, they should so indicate.
Speak now, forever hold their peace.
But I would. So I'll be looking for.
I will make a motion that Mr. Dr. Stringer remain as our chairman of the board.
Okay, so I have a motion for myself to remain chairman. How say?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, how say you two? Aye. Is Mr. Wolf unable to vote?
Mr. Wolf, we do see your iPhone, so if you'd like to vote or have any comments, you can just do that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm good. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much. We'll move on to the treasurer position. Mr. Wolf said something earlier that he wanted to trade or
Yeah, Mr. Wolf, I know in the past you've indicated that you're more than willing to allow others to try the treasurer position if they so want to, and so we're just having an open discussion about the treasurer position. Feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I think if Mr. Casavan would like to take on that role, I think it'd be a good experience.
want to nominate?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion to nominate Mr. Craftsman as treasurer. All those in favor? Aye. Mr.
Aye.
Craftsman, it's called a railroad job. Congratulations. You are now.
And
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr.
You're welcome. It doesn't pay any more than any other job, but you get the title.
That's all right with me.
And
All
I'll
right,
have,
and Bonnie, will you continue as secretary? Yeah, okay. All right, Bonnie, I'm gonna nominate Bonnie to continue as secretary. Is that okay with you guys?
Yep.
Absolutely. Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
you made a first, Bob. Do you want a second for that, for Bonnie to be secretary?
Yeah, I would like a second for that.
Second,
Okay,
Casavan.
let's vote. Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Aye. Wolf says aye.
All right, okay, thank you, gentlemen and ladies, very much. We'll continue, do the best we can.
Clarify something.
Yes,
Who seconded for Mr. Casavan to be the treasurer?
Aaron.
Mr. Wolf.
Thank you.
Okay,
And Mr. Casanova, before Dr. Stringer moves on, we'll get together with our business manager, Tracy Burson, kind of walk you through the process and what that looks like. So you have an idea.
Sounds good.
Got it.
all
No
right.
worries.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ms. Gordon, the really exciting part of tonight's meeting is next.
All right. Like I was telling the administration today, I started on this nice large guide and it was getting to multiple pages. And I thought, you know, a lot of what we're doing, oh, that's interesting. A lot of what we're doing can be summarized I think a lot neater, nicely, and more concisely, I should say, for our public and for our board members. So if you see items missing tonight or things that you thought, oh, that would be good to be on that document, please let me know because we can add that to the document. The administration was working on it today. I noticed that my link now is going to a different spot. So let me go into our folder. And, oh man, where did it go? It's interesting, it might have gotten to the place. Hold on, just bear with me. And if you're at home and you're probably still unmuted, I just want to make sure that as members at home, you might want to mute your microphones right now. And I apologize, for some reason our link got changed out. So let's go and make sure we have the right one. Okay, there we are. Just to remind you, the logo at the top is our new logo for our vision for the next 5 years, Thrive in 25, Innovate, Accelerate, Cultivate. We're calling it iSchool 2.0. It's had a lot of morphing and evolutions over the last few months. And so we seek to improve our previous iSchool program and exceed the state's expectations for distance learning through a rigorous and structured school day to accelerate learning and meet the needs of all students. So that one being extremely important. We don't want to see any kids fall through the cracks during this time and not show up to school and have even more so learning loss. So we're going to be very diligent about that. I know that you saw some of this in draft form earlier this last week, or actually just yesterday. I think I sent out a draft form. I will go through the bullets with you. There's been a few changes, but I want you to be kind of aware of the structure, what it looks like, and then we can go from there if you have any questions. Structured school day, 8 to 1. Lisa and Josh have actually just sent me, the site principals have sent me more of a detailed daily schedule, a breakdown of what that looks like for students. In fact, that's what I just clicked on and it popped up instead of this agenda or this sheet. If you want to see those in more detail, I'd be more than happy to show those to you. But they really show a breakdown of what happens at 8 o'clock, what happens at 9 o'clock. Lisa has designed for Bryant Street a system where students are going in small groups throughout their day and throughout the like the language arts lesson. Lisa, make sure you correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, because this has been in development. And so they have kind of a centers-based Zoom time with their teachers. And so they're able to move within instruction, within different kinds of teachers throughout the lesson. And we also have for first and second grade, we have Mrs. Kingsley, who's going to be supporting our first and second grade students as well as kind of an, what you say, support provider, intervention provider during those sessions. And kindergarten is going to be starting at 8, but TK starts at 9 a.m. So I want to make sure you understood from our meeting. They'll be starting at 9 a.m. every day. The instructional minutes are part of our meeting later. The state did reduce instructional minutes for students for this year currently, only for this year currently, by about an hour a day. And so we'll be meeting all of the instructional minutes, and I'll show you that on the next, with the item that deals with instructional minutes. Synchronous and asynchronous delivery. So our teachers are starting each lesson for the most part live. They need to be there with their students. They may have recorded their lesson already, which is fine with us. The research shows a combination of asynchronous and synchronous instruction is the most effective way of doing that, not just one or the other. And so our teachers are being required, though, to be with their students during the beginnings of those lessons to make sure that they get started, they take any questions, and that they have that live time with their students. And then from there, it might be a video they're showing, it might be a video of another teacher they're showing, it could be supplemental instruction that we have from online, but it's all being done through Google and Zoom. And after 1 o'clock, they have time to collaborate, plan, and go about their day like they normally would. Our design was really to try to mimic the regular school day as much as possible. And that's what the state is saying as well. So they use the word mirror the school day. And so we saw that as an opportunity to try to keep our day as close to a regular site-based day as possible. Okay. We have recordings. We also have Zoom. The educational license we're purchasing, that purchase order is actually going in this week so that we can take daily attendance as well. So when a student and a teacher, I should say, is done with their Zoom session, when they leave the meeting, Zoom captures everybody that's in there, what time they came into the meeting as a student, and what time they left the meeting. So we have a nice, accurate audit trail for participation in our live sessions. That's a nice function through Zoom now. All of our teachers and staff will begin instruction on campus. It's the third bullet. Following the first day of school, following CDC guidelines for essential businesses. We may offer flexibility to this condition as things go along. And as the administration we felt like just for cohesiveness and collaboration, having our resources on our campuses to have access to right away, we felt was much more efficient and productive and a better way for our students to get started on distance learning. The discussion is, as we go along, we may not see that as much of a need in the future, so we'd like to have some flexibility in terms of being able to say, hey, the on-campus requirements, we might be able to lighten a little bit, having a 1 o'clock day ending and saying there's flexibility in the afternoons and providing some of that flexibility. But we really don't know until we get into it what we don't know. So we'd like to just kind of throw that out there as well.
I would assume that the individual teachers will be in their own classrooms, right? Which I think is really important from the perspective of the kids getting acclimated a little bit to what because they're going to come back this year.
Right.
What the classroom is going to be like. So if the bulletin boards are up or the word wall or whatever they're doing is in place, to me that would just make it a little better situation for the children.
Yeah, we agreed with that. We didn't go into that decision or that program element without a lot of thought and conversation. And so it impacts people differently. I was reading an article today about Modesto County and the schools going back, and that's where they're saying most of that county schools are having all their teachers come back to the site and their staff. It just creates that return to normalcy that people are looking for in that sense. But it will be a challenge for some teachers. We've got childcare issues, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. We've got folks that just have very individual situations that they're dealing with COVID, and so a home environment versus a school environment, it might be more conducive to be at home. But we felt like to start out, everybody's always coming back to school that week before the student day starts anyway, all the teachers. So, you know, childcare and those kinds of issues, we should be firmed up by then. But we do know that there's going to be special circumstances and issues we're going to have to be sensitive to and think through and talk about. We were concerned, though, that if you say one person stays home, then you'd have to open that up. And so it breaks down some of that desire to get us on campus and working through those issues. And as administration, we just knew having to work through Zoom, there's a lag of efficiency as well, and emails and those kinds of things when you're not on the campus to be able to talk to folks and work that through. So that was the program design at this point. So with some flexibility down the road to say, hey, we might reconsider that as we move along. Professional development, we're using the distance learning playbook by Fisher. I'm on an all-day training on that tomorrow. I've invited any of the administration to sit with me and go through that as well. That's by Doug Fisher, Nancy Fry, and John Hattie. That's the folks that we use in the BAST with visible learning. The instructional minutes will be meeting 240 minimum a day. You'll see in the instructional minutes part that a lot of grade levels will exceed that minimum based on what the state's requirements are, but we'll be meeting those. Rigorous math ELA curriculum that we normally use on campus. We don't see a huge shift right now away from what we're already doing for a curriculum, because we are already using kind of a blended learning type program anyway with what they call Savas. Now it's Pearson. It used to be Pearson. So if we say Savas, then it's a Pearson curriculum. Okay. Doesn't mean to say that our teachers aren't making some adjustments to the curriculum. Of course, it's not going to be the exact same because it's got an online delivery. But we were really already set up very well for online delivery in those areas, and that's for K-6 specifically. Special ed services, IEP process, Steve is getting that all dialed in. Lots of IEPs will be occurring during the first, the week before school starts specifically. They'll be in Zoom session. They'll be providing those services as we've done normally in the past. I shouldn't say normally, as we did in the previous distance learning season. Social emotional learning supports continue with the use of 2 counselors, providing student counseling sessions and support in the Zoom sessions that mimics our on-site SEL program using the 8P strategies, using the kinds of curriculum that we currently already use. Our EL students are providing extra support for our Spanish teachers, and so they'll have individual sessions or small group time with them to make sure that they're on track, doing some language development, as well as using our fast forward online curriculum that they actually speak into the computer and it records what they're doing and works them through their EL standards. So we're excited to continue that. Use of math and reading specialists. Part of our learning loss mitigation funds is using some of those funds to provide for that learning loss. So we have actually Teresa Ginto, who did our summer school 7th and 8th grade, providing tutoring for independent study and our distance learning students throughout the day in our program, as well as Christy Song, one of our intervention specialists for ELA, is going to be also providing tutoring and intervention sessions throughout the day as well. And I talk about the assessments in the next bullet. Basically, I talked to the administration today and we said, is there anything we see as assessments not being able to be provided? And really all of our assessments, in our opinion, and of course it might be different when we talk to the staff, can be given online. And that's including the IABs, the interim assessments from the state. That's including our pre and post assessments for Pearson, Savas curriculum, STAR, ESTI, all of that really is online for the most part. The only adjustments maybe I would see is if teachers have their own specific kinds of assessments they like to give that are more paper pencil, that might be more limited, but our benchmark assessments will be in place and be able to be utilized at this time. So grading policy, staying consistent. We no longer are we under the designation that we cannot lower grades for students like we were in the last season. So starting over from square one, students will be earning the grades that they receive. I'm encouraging staff and teachers specifically to use engagement as part of the student's grade as well. You know, looking at points during the day if they raise their hand, or if they're on time, or those kinds of ideas, those engagement ideas to keep them, I guess, accountable in that sense. But they'll be earning their grades as normal during this season. So if a student is failing a classroom, you know, of course, we work hard to make sure they're not, but if they are earning that grade specifically, that an F or a 1 could be warranted, and that won't necessarily be questioned on our end because the state's saying start with your regular grading process. Students not attending sessions held accountable through our SCAT process, student contract accountability team as normal. So we don't see many changes to that. We probably will do those online with Zoom though. as we see the need. Chromebooks and hotspots provided for all students that need them. Assigned subject.
Hey, Mike, can I interrupt you on the accountability team aspect of it? Is that going to be more or less difficult? I mean, it just seems it's going to be kind of complex to get the data that we've always had, tardies, absences, all that kind of thing, missed homework assignments.
Yeah, that's,
So-
I think there's going to be some pros and cons to that. Like if a student's coming in late on their sessions, we'll see that. We will actually have that recorded because that's part of the Zoom
Okay.
functions that we've been made aware of it that does that for us. So the attendance and the tardies, I'm not too concerned about. It's more of the on-task behaviors that are going to be tough.
But that's kind of pivotal, and so you have that data and everything, but I don't know. It just seems like it's still going to be kind of difficult. I was really paying attention when I was in the backyard throwing the ball for the dog. It really, trust me. I don't know, but we're going to continue with accountability team and Kelly. Okay, all right.
And I think teachers will be sharing that with us as we ask for references or referrals for those kids that we need to keep accountable. It's part of the outcomes. Like, are they turning in their work?
Yeah, right.
Are they
Right.
producing the work that we need to show progress? And if they're not producing work, I mean, we don't send kids through those meetings if they're working hard and trying their best, even
Right.
if it's the lowest standard that we want for them. As long as they're working hard and trying their best, it's for students that have just kind of checked out.
Right.
And we'll see that when the work isn't being done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Pre-reduced lunch, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead too far. I'm looking at the wrong page. Assigned substitutes to be trained in Zoom and Google Classroom. We already have those that are available and still on our sub list to do so. There might be situations where other staff can cover those classes. You know, if a teacher is going to be out and the other classroom teacher can, you know, hit record for them or play for them. But we do have substitutes in line as well that can help us make sure that we cover absences as normal. Miscellaneous provisions, I just stuck some information in here for your understanding that really didn't have much to do with instruction or those materials, but new computers for staff, I talked about that already. For our core teachers, I should say, the Zoom educational license, a team of staff to continue cultivating our school culture, keeping our morale high, like our teams program, our house program, I should say, having some staff that are specifically designed to think of the fun, engaging ways on Zoom to help our school. Other devices provided, we provided, well, mics and webcams and educational websites. There's a lot of purchases going on in terms of those kinds of items, especially the websites. And then the use of our current staff members to provide childcare. So following the Department of Health guidelines for childcare, we wanted to go ahead, in order to bring folks on campus, is to figure out how to help folks, teachers and staff specifically that are going to be here with childcare. So 4-year-olds through 8th grade students right now, we have approved for childcare. I believe there's 45.
Without 4-year-olds.
Without 4-year-olds, sorry. TK through 8, right? TK through 8. We talked about 4-year-olds today, so I apologize. There's 45 right now that are TK through 8 that are staff students that would qualify to be at our child care center or our child care provision. Some folks have asked, okay, so how do you do that? Because the county's not giving waivers for child care. We're looking at this as just staff. So staff on campus are able to have, you're not required to have a license if you as a parent are on site. So much like our nursery care, if you look in the county regulations, parents stay on site, it doesn't need to be a licensed child care facility. So that's what we're looking to do. In fact, I just saw an article, I guess, again from the Modesto County, that are doing the same kind of thing.
What kind of facilities will those be in? Classrooms? I mean,
Right here.
oh,
So right now.
in one site?
At one site.
Oh, over here,
Currently, I think we have it just designed for one site here
45 kids?
in different groups. So they won't all be together in a big group at this point. I think that's how it's designed.
Yeah, there's 6, if you close this up, there's 6 classrooms here.
And from the start of school to the end of school, being school hours, the
Yeah,
whole school day?
8 to 1, basically.
8 to 1,
and releasing
okay.
back to their classrooms after 1 o'clock.
Okay. And do we have the people hired to do that?
We have folks that already had positions like yard duties,
Oh.
student coaches. that
Okay,
during distance learning really don't have a position to go to. So we felt like this was really a good appropriate use of the
Okay.
time as that supervision. Yeah.
okay,
So
good.
that way we can provide the childcare, folks can go to work and feel like they have a nice safe place for their students to go.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Free reduced lunch service continues, and as normal, we don't see any big change to that. What we were doing this last season for distance learning, and then we have some staff that are just going way above and beyond. I just wanted to put that in a bullet of going beyond the limits. They're doing food box deliveries. They're helping with tech support at people's homes. I mean, any need that a parent or family says, I have a need for this or that, or childcare, coming up, they're like making connections and networks and showing up at the home to help. And it's just phenomenal to watch that happen. It's not anything that I try to drive or what have you. I'm trying to survive and figure things out, and they're just taking it to another level. So I wanted to mention that in kind of our plan. We will continue to go beyond the limits for our students. We'll be sending out weekly, I told the admin today, I think it's really good we send out weekly feedback forms for our parents that are in distance learning or really any of our programs to say, how are we doing? What is it looking like? What is not working? If it's a tech issue, do we need to come to your home and figure out Wi-Fi issues? Those kinds of things. So just knowing that we're going to go beyond the limits, whatever we can do to help. There are some documents associated that I put in here. You'll see the instructional minutes calculator a little bit later, and they'll link that at some point. And then just the references that we use from the state. So that's the plan in a nutshell. Your students will have a structured day that they're going through, and they'll have specific times they need to be online. If they can't be there at that time, we'll be recording the session so they can go back later and view those.
Okay, and you're confident that every student has access to technology or can get access to technology?
We'll have checkout during the week of August 10th. I think it's the 13th and 14th, if I recall, that we will be doing checkouts for our students for technology. Those are hot spots in the conference.
All right. Yeah.
So
All right.
yes, I am confident. Anybody who doesn't have what they need, we will find a way to get it.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions, Bonnie?
I think you really, this is amazing to me that it's all in place like this. I guess we had a dry run even for the school year. But I'm just a question about providing the lunches, since no one is here to pick them up. And what about students that I know will be home alone because of their ages?
Right.
So how do we get the food to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if a parent needs to do a pickup, we have the drive-by line, of course, but we've done food delivery boxes as well. So it's not been something that's formalized in a sense. We find out what families have need, and then we figure out, it's actually been made up volunteers. They're like, hey, I'm willing to take boxes, I'm willing to take food. So yeah, the food delivery system is much more informal. We haven't had a lot of folks that have said they can't get to a school at a certain time, but I think it's going to be more of a need as we move along. So there's no requirement that we have to deliver lunches that I've seen, but I think it's something that we need to consider as we move along, as how do we do that. And right now, volunteers have been stepping up and helping with that.
More people are going to be going back to work eventually.
Agreed.
And when that happens, if that happens before we get to come back to school, then there's going to be a need to help provide.
And one of the conversations has been, since most of our food is frozen, what we give them, because it's a Monday and Wednesday delivery that they come and pick up, or I should say Monday and Wednesday pick up. So if they come on Monday, they're getting meals for Monday and Tuesday. If they come on Wednesday, they're getting Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, so that they don't have to keep coming back every day. So most of the families, I think, have figured out a way to get somebody there to get those lunches for their students. And a lot of that is already frozen. So it will save for them, the thoughts that are coming to mind that we talked about. It's just an evening session where we have one of our lunch folks come in the evening, and if a parent's been working, they can stop by, and there's a 5 to 6 p.m. type of time. And so they don't miss out because they can't get there between 12:30 and 1:30. So.
Well,
Mike or Aaron, questions for Ms. Gordon?
Make sure I unmute them if they're muted.
Or anybody else that's out there?
Mike Casavan has no questions. Nice work, Mike, and everybody involved. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Aaron, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope, no questions. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. Okay, Ms. Gordon.
And just one quick caveat, and I'm sure it's been expressed in other forums and parent squares, but we were really hoping to get back to school. I mean, at the end of the day, this was really plan D. we were hoping that this wasn't going to be part of the framework of what we were doing. Unfortunately, we are where we're at. But me personally, I was really excited to see kids' first day of school August 13th. And so super disappointed that that's not going to occur at this time. I understand why. I'm not going to get into political aspects of it at all. But our heart, I think, as a staff, if you talk to most of our staff, in fact, anybody I talked to, they were longing to get back to the camaraderie and the students and the jobs that they were hired to do, which is in-class teaching for our kids. So I've shared with them, it really is frustrating. I know it's frustrating for our staff. We're going to try to remain positive and sensitive to the needs that are going on, but we really do miss the classroom and our kids in those classrooms. So.
Okay, well, item B is an action item. It's the approval of the learning plan that we just had a presentation on. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of item B. I'm sorry?
I can second, or I can make the motion if it hasn't already been made.
I'm sorry?
Mike Cassavant will make the motion if it hasn't already been made.
Oh, okay, you made a motion? I'm sorry, I'm having a little difficulty hearing. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second.
Do I have a second? Okay. So all those in favor, I would ask Mr. Cassavant,
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Okay, thank you. The ILCS distance learning plan has been approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. Now, you also need approval on the instructional minutes aspect of this plan. So is there something you want to add, or do you want me to ask for a motion on that?
I just wanted to show you on paper what the instructional minutes look like so that you're aware of that we're meeting in compliance. Every year, the state asks us to have the board approve our instructional minutes. We delayed it until now because we thought back, I assumed back in June we'd be doing this again. So this is only for distance learning. If we return to the school site, I'll be bringing back another instructional minutes form for you to approve for school site. In my mind, but I didn't want to make that apparent yet. So if you look at, and I apologize, these forms come up a little strange. The distance learning requirement right now is 180 minutes for kinder. We'll be at 210 for TK, and we'll be at 270 minutes for traditional kinder. So TK will have a little bit less. Kindergarten will have a little bit more, of course, but they'll be above the 180 requirement. If you go to first through third grades, first through third grade, you're at 270 minutes is my number right here. Just blow that up so the public can see that too. First grade, 270 minutes in second grade, 240 minutes going into third grade. So the requirement, like I said, for first through third is 230 minutes, and they're at 270, and third grade's at 240, and the rest of all of our grade levels are at 240.
Okay. So I'll look for board approval or motion to approve the instructional minutes changes. Did I get a motion?
Cassavant will make the motion.
Okay, thank you. A second?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second it.
We have a motion, a second. Mr. Cassavant, you vote
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
I vote aye. How do you vote? Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Similarly, item D speaks to Mrs. Mitchell as a make debit account signer. I'll make that motion. What do you guys second it?
I'll second. Cassavant will second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Ms. Cassavant?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, buddy, thank you for doing that, by the way. And Sherry Whitlock wants to teach out of state. So, Mr. Gordon, you're okay with item E?
Yeah, as long as we're a part of the distance learning, what we're going to ask is if there are special requests from staff in regards to the distance learning season and they have needs that they need to attend to. In Mrs. Whitlock's case, she feels like she can continue to teach, specifically from where she's going. So I felt confident that that would be allowable at this time. to continue that as opposed to looking at that way. So in those conditions, we ask that the board approve those special
Okay.
conditions.
I'll entertain a motion on that item. I was looking for a second from Mr. Chastain.
Cassavant will second.
Okay, thank you. So I'm voting aye. Bonnie, are you voting aye? Are you voting aye, Mr. Gordon, Mr. Cassavant, and Mr. Wolf?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Cassavant.
That's 4-0. Okay, Mr. Gordon, a little training session, Brown Act stuff.
Yeah, fortunately for you, I'm going to table that till the next meeting. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
not able to get all of that together for you tonight, so I'd like to table that and be able to.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to table that item.
Okay, that'd be fine. Ratifications, I will take A and B, approval of the ratifications A and B. Anybody want to make that motion? I'm sorry.
I will make that.
I have a motion to approve ratifications A and B.
Cassavant will second.
I have a second. How do you vote, Mrs. Mitchell?
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Cassavant?
Aye.
Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Aye. Well, thank you very much. And now the consent calendar is before you, and would any member like any item pulled for separate consideration?
No for Cassavant.
No? So I said, I
No.
would entertain a motion then for all the items under the consent calendar in one motion for approval. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Cassavant second.
I vote aye. Bonnie? Aye. Mr. Cassavant?
Aye.
You, Mr. Wolf?
Aye.
Thank you very much. That's 4-0 on the consent calendar. We have no special. So we have a closed session this evening. I'm going to ask the board member comments at this time, and then I'm going to close our open session and go into closed session. So, board member comments. Who wants to be first? How about Mr. Wolf?
Yeah, Mike, I just want you to, I appreciate everything you're doing. And I know this has been a difficult process. And we went from saying that we're going back to school. Now we're not going back to school. And just your ability to navigate through this, I think is very impressive. And all the work that you and our staff are putting in, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we as a board appreciate them, to include all of our teachers. I know it's not going to be easy for a lot of them to have to go back into the classroom with their children and situations at home. But I appreciate everybody's hard work and willingness and dedication to our students, to my kids personally. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Mr. Cassavant.
Thank you very much. No, the Cassavant family shares the thoughts with Mike Gordon on the desires to start school in person. That was taken out of our hands. But you guys have done a fantastic job. We couldn't ask for anything better. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody who's been working on it. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Mitchell.
I'm absolutely thrilled with the summer school outcome. That to me is impressive learning. Quantify that over 2 weeks. If we can do that, we can come back to school. And I think that this is getting us ready as far as I'm concerned. I was very impressed with that. Good job.
Thank you. My comments are, I echo what my colleagues say. You guys did a fantastic job, Mr. Gordon. What an about face that was, and wow, well done. All right, I would like to turn your attention to the calendar just for a second and ask when you would like to meet. This is August the 3rd, Monday. Mr. Gordon, do you have, for our next meeting, how is it looking for you for financials and reports and all that kind of stuff? What's going to be good for you?
We're going to need to address the Learning Continuity Plan, the LCAP 2, prior to September 30th. So if we could have a meeting for me that needs to occur before then. So prior to September 30th.
Okay, so I'm looking at September, and there's 4 Mondays. The 28th is the last Monday. You don't want it. You want it before that.
No, that 28th is fine.
The 28th of September
Yes.
will work for you.
That
Well,
should
the
be-
28th of September, is that okay with you?
That is 8 weeks since we've had a meeting. That's the only concern. Is there anything we need to address before that, Mike?
That would be, oh, you're right.
This is the first Monday, and that's the last Monday in September.
Yeah, that's a good point.
14th? Is that
Yeah, the 14th is good.
The 14th of September, that's a Monday. Bonnie?
works for me?
Mr. Casavan, how does 14th for meeting look to you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I muted him. So you're trying to make me multitask. Go ahead, Mr. Kessman.
I'm good with that. 14th is good.
Okay, Mr. Wolf?
There you go, Mr.
14th works for me.
The 14th, okay, the 14th it is 5. Do we want 5 or do you want 6? And where do you want to meet?
I feel like this facility is working well for us.
So 5 here?
5 o'clock here, if that still works for board members. I'm willing to go later if you need to.
Nope. 5 is good.
5 is fine.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to close the open session of tonight's meeting. Thank you all in the audience for attending. I very much appreciate it.
Mike, this isn't on the record. But I'm just wondering if.
I'm sorry.
Let me,
I want a question for Mike.
let me just stop